Megan, I don't know about you, but sometimes burning bridges can cause wrinkles.
Yeah, and I have noticed I have a few of them coming in, and I'm not too happy about it.
Luckily, there's amazing places like Youth Bar that can fix all your wrinkles and all your skincare needs.
I love them actually. I've been to Youth Bar and they did a great job on my Botox. I want to go in for like IV treatments. They've got filler, everything. So if you want to go to Youth Bar HFX on Instagram is where to go.
And if you love burning bridges just as much as we do, right now you can use the exclusive code BRIDGESBURN for special pricing on your first Botox or filler treatment or one of their many other services.
So are we going soon?
Let's go right now.
Okay. This is Bridges Burned with Megan and Amy.
Tina has more than 2 decades of experience as an on-air radio personality in both the U.S. and Canada. She also has experience running her own business, providing voiceover from her home studio. Now she lives in New Minas with her husband and 3 kids and is passionate about finding ways to give back. And one of the ways she can do that is by ensuring people have representation that lives in the district, show up to meetings, and is willing to put the community ahead of their own interests. We are Burning Bridges with Miss Tina Sapp. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, ladies.
So you are from the United States of America.
Don't hold it against me.
Never.
You're here now. It's all good. It's all good. Ironically, the longest I've ever lived anywhere was Ottawa. I married a Canadian man and I lived in Ottawa, and then I moved to Nova Scotia 4 years ago.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And you love it, right?
I do. I love it. I moved to Nova Scotia not knowing anybody, and now I'm a county councillor.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So you're down in the States. What made you want to get into radio there? Like, what was your story?
It's funny. My university professor saw it in me before I saw it. My degree was actually English and secondary education. And he said, you should probably go into media. He thought that I would probably not be that great a teacher, I guess, because I was the class clown. And he thought, maybe you should check out media. And so I went and I applied at a radio station. And how could you not fall in love with it? And I changed my degree to English and mass communications.
Oh, okay. So you didn't go to like a broadcasting school?
I didn't.
Yeah. Was it hard to get into media in the States?
No, it really wasn't. I mean, of course, you started from the ground up like any other radio station. So I was doing a lot of just pushing the buttons to get the commercials on the air and then getting a chance to do the weathers and then working my way up. So, yeah.
That must have been crazy because for a while you had a certain trajectory you thought you were going, and then all of a sudden it switched and you're going into radio.
Yeah. And I absolutely loved it. And it gave me so many opportunities that I never would have had otherwise. Besides being backstage in concerts, which everybody wants to do, but I flew a plane, and I broadcasted in places that I never thought I ever would want to be, but I got to. And I think that that's something that really allows you to have transferable skills when we're talking about when people get out of radio.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about that with other women and that are doing other jobs now. And they've all said, although a lot of us have had bad experiences, it's all worked out for our future careers somehow.
Well, I see a lot of people that I have known in the industry going into politics, and I understand how that happens because as people in media, we are doing that naturally, engaging our communities, networking, going on locations, speaking to people, and finding what we feel would be the most concise way of passing that message along in a relatable way, right? And it's also our job in media to perhaps be, or at least be perceived as someone's best friend. And that's kind of what we do in politics as well, don't we?
I don't do.
I do.
And then you met your amazing husband, Tim, and you guys have been together for how long now?
20 years, 2 decades.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Amy, you knew us when we were newlyweds and we didn't have children.
That was crazy. I was just telling Megan I said, right before I left Ottawa to come to Halifax, we were working side by side in the studios, and you're like, you're going to be like the first person I tell, but I'm pregnant, and I'm really so happy. I remember being so sad that like I wasn't going to get to see your experience.
Yes. And you know what? I want to touch on that because when I did start radio in Ottawa, my husband and I, we didn't even want to have children until my career was set. So until I had full time, I was not going to even consider having children with my husband. So we were married for 7 years before we had children. And then I got laid off right after my son was born. And the reason why that happened that way was because you can't lay off someone while they're on maternity leave, but you can lay them off when they're taking vacation. And I was taking vacation because my husband was taking paternity leave. Yeah. And so I don't know if you remember that time, Amy. A lot of people were like, how did she get laid off? Like, you can't lay someone off while she's on maternity leave, right? I wasn't on maternity leave. I was going to come right back to work right after I had my baby because I figured, a studio sit down job, I can do that after a few weeks and leave the baby home with my husband. So yeah, I was laid off and it was really devastating for me. But this is something, especially as ladies, you might want to know. And it was eye-opening. When women are laid off after they return from maternity leave, they can't be laid off immediately after maternity leave. So there's a period of time, I think it's 3 to 6 months, that you cannot lay off a woman when she comes back from maternity leave. And then after that period, if they do get laid off, what happens is, and this is devastating to a lot of women, when they try to get EI, they can't because the same funds from maternity leave, it's the same EI and maternity leave. So women will use that maternity leave while they're taking care of their newborn. And then if they get laid off after maternity leave, they go to get EI and they're like, sorry, I found this out because when I called to get EI and I told them my situation, the response I got from the person on the other line was, oh, you should feel lucky. You should feel lucky because you would have been left in quite a lurch had you been laid off after maternity leave. So at least this way, you're getting EI and you can enjoy that time with your husband together with your child. And so that was devastating to me, especially as a professional woman that was actually intending on going back to her job.
Can we like back it up a little bit? So you were in media for 7 years before you decided to have a baby.
Way longer than 7. I was with that particular company. Well, not the company for 7 years. I was in Canada for 7 years. Let's say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you got a full-time job.
I did.
And then you're like, okay, cool. Let's have a baby.
Yep.
And you get pregnant. You work up until, I don't know, 8, 9 months pregnant, whatever you did.
I literally called into work and said, I can't come in today because I'm having an emergency C-section.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you immediately, I've never done it. So I guess you're immediately on mat leave as of that day.
No, vacation.
Oh, you just took vacation. You never took your mat leave.
I didn't.
That's the truth of vacation. You're like, I need 9 months.
So how long were you going to be taking vacation for? Or how long did you take vacation for?
As I recall, it was like 4 weeks or something. I gathered up enough vacation, right? And so yeah, I was gonna take vacation. I think that you can take some time off for having a baby, but you're not taking maternity leave. You're not taking from the EI. You're taking from the allotted amount of time through the company. And then I think there was some vacation time. But yeah, I was not accessing maternity leave, which is why I was allowed to get laid off.
Was it never your plan to do mat leave? You just didn't want to? You kind of wanted to just go back into work right away?
Well, you know what? It isn't even about want. So here's the thing is sometimes it's just a matter about money. And if your husband is making way more money than you, it's a no-brainer, right? Which one are you going to take? And so my husband was going to stay home and I was going to return to work. And frankly, I loved my job. I loved my job. And so I wanted to go back to work, right? And I don't want to say my husband doesn't love his job, but my husband was very excited at the idea of staying home with the baby.
I can't imagine it. So all three of us have been let go, but you just had a baby, the hormones, what was that like? Were you like blindsided by it all? Were you like, how was your reaction?
When I got laid off, I was literally going to go into the studio to introduce everyone to my baby. That was the plan. And I was let go over the phone. I was let go over the phone. And I was later told that it was because they were afraid that I might be bringing the baby into the studio, and that wouldn't have been so great. I don't know if it was necessarily great for me or for the optics for them, but yeah, they just thought that it was the more, I guess, humane way to let go a new mother.
What position were you working at the station?
I was a full-time on-air DJ, but I think it was nights and weekends and on call for fill-in for anybody else that was taking vacation or sick, which was quite often. So I was bouncing around between two radio stations. Yeah.
Did you ever get the sense while you're pregnant, before you're pregnant, that they were like gonna lay you off? Did something feel off to you at the station at all?
I know, I guess every DJ at that point, or every on-air position, always kind of wondered. Because I think by that time I had survived 4 rounds of layoffs. And so you kind of wonder when your numbers come in, right? But then also there was a part of me that felt like, and this is horrible, that I wasn't the one making the most money. So quite often, sometimes they are cutting off. Again, it's a numbers game. Where can they cut the most? And so I felt like maybe I could kind of hide under the radar for a long time. But I had survived like 4 rounds, which is also, like I said, really difficult for the survivors. Survivor's guilt is a very real thing. And so, I think that people think, oh, well, if you weren't one of the people laid off, then you should feel lucky. But it is really devastating to watch your colleagues and friends being let go, you know?
It sounds like we're talking about the Hunger Games. Like I survived for a round.
It basically is, though.
It is. It really is. Yeah.
So you had the opportunity to work in the US and then Canada as well. Is there a difference in the way media is managed in the US versus Canada?
Well, I think that it isn't like I worked in many, many different places. So I don't think I can necessarily make the comparison, but I can only speak from my own experience. And I worked at radio stations outside of Kansas City, Missouri. And one of them was 100,000-watt station. And then there were many other stations within the company. And there were throughout the region of the Midwest. And so where I was working, I was already on 3 different radio stations. And I was already having to cut my own commercials while songs were going on. And so yeah, so when people think that radio DJs are just playing music and they talk once in a while between the songs, it wasn't like that at all. I didn't actually get to enjoy the songs. I was literally recording commercials during the songs and then going on the air, right? And so when I got to Ottawa, I was just amazed. I was amazed that I could actually enjoy my show prep and enjoy the music, and that there was an actual production department that I could go to where people who enjoy doing production, I don't really enjoy production so much, that there was actually a department that enjoyed doing that would be able to do that. And so that was the difference that I saw. But I mean, I'm sure that each station and each company has its own way. So I don't know if it's necessarily American and Canadian.
Is the pay a little bit better in the States because it's a little bit bigger?
I think it depends on which station you go to, right? But I would say that regardless of Canada or the US, I think the pay is probably not that great because there are so many people dying to do it.
Yeah.
And so you almost feel like you're disposable, right?
I think the outside world thinks we're dying to do it because it makes us rich and we get so much money.
Oh.
No, it's something in our weird brains, and we just get into this industry and we become attached, like anxiously attached to. I don't know what it is, but the money is not there. My first job, I made $24,000 a year. Like that, I wasn't rich.
I work for pizza coupons.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any different from saying that there's a calling for a teacher or a nurse. It's in your soul. It is the profession that you love. It is the profession that you wish that you could wake up and do every day. And you would probably do it whether you're getting paid to do it or not. And in a perfect world, if you could do it for free, that would probably be the job that you pick because that's the job you love. Unfortunately, the industry takes advantage of that because they know that there's a whole line of young students straight out of broadcasting school waiting to take that position if it's free.
What are some of the struggles, minus probably the biggest struggle of being let go, that you have experienced as a woman in media?
So for me, it was devastating because I really didn't know how transferable those skills were going to be. So I did, after I got let go, I thought, how am I going to be able to work with my new babies? Because, by the way, after that son was born, I then ended up having twins. So quite difficult to get back into the job market. And so I decided to start my own voiceover studio. And then I actually was broadcasting for a radio station in Alabama in the US. And so without ever having stepped foot in Alabama, I would get the weather online and pretend like I was in Alabama, and I would actually do my radio show there. And then I did a lot of commercials, and then I did a lot of narration for corporate training videos, that sort of thing. But all that to say, I didn't know how I was going to ever make it out of my home studio. I thought that was pretty much all I'd be able to offer at this point, because what do you do with just radio under your belt and a degree in English and mass communications? And then I moved to Nova Scotia, and I just did a lot of volunteer work, and I got really involved in my community. And as I was doing nonprofit work, I thought, how can I do this and get paid to do this? Like, I would love to do this for the rest of my life. And who knew that was politics? And as I do politics, I realize I'm doing a lot of the things that I did on a daily basis in media. I'm doing my social media posts. I am going on location. I am networking. I am talking to people in our community. And then the people that need things done, I am able to find the resources to make that happen. And these are all skills that I learned in media.
It's amazing and hopeful.
Yeah. I'm still going in my mind. it's still going like this about the whole you getting fired when you did, at the timing you did. My mom got in a car accident when she was quite young, and when she was still healing, she was off work for like 6 months. Her boss came to her house and fired her. And this was in like 1979 or something like that. And my mom didn't know any better, and she was in a walker. She was terrible, and she ended up having to, I think she went to court, something like that, but she fought it and she got the job back. I know you couldn't get this radio job back, but was there something that could be done because you just had a baby? I feel like there's so much, even though you didn't choose to go the mat leave route, I feel like it's just so wrong in so many ways.
It was legal, right? And so when you're told that it is legal, there's really nothing you can do about it. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that were laid off before me. It's not just our industry, right? I mean, generations before us, they could get a job, and the dream was to work that job all the way until retirement. And that was the dream. You got rewarded for your dedication. It's not that way anymore. Do I think it's right? No, but it's the game. And there was really no way for me to fight it. And what I chose to do was to embrace my time with my newborn child. And that's time that I would never get again. And so now, looking back on it, I'm grateful for it. In that moment, not so much, but now I am. And then I learned a lot about me and resilience, and that my identity is more than just a radio DJ.
I think that's a big thing, is especially when you've been doing it for decades, it becomes who you are. And it's like a breakup with your own identity and having to find yourself again. And I think that's the real hard journey.
Yes. And I think that also there is this feeling of, I don't know if you were like me, but I did everything right, right? Like I did everything right. I graduated, I went to school, I put in my time, I started from the ground up, I did the grunt work, I did all those rookie shifts, I did everything right. And then what did you get for it? And that's the thing. But then, and you gals are younger than me, but when you get to my age, you'll go, oh, that wasn't all for nothing. That wasn't a waste. Like I said, those skills will be transferable and you will be grateful for that experience. I know though, it might still be a bit raw for you.
I'm learning. I still have my good days and bad. And it's just, I feel like, there's a lot of things I could have done better, but I feel like it was so toxic. And I mean, Tina, you got to know me like when I started off, like I was fresh. I was lugging stuff around and doing all the grunt work, as you say. And I feel like in my career, that grunt work never stopped. And I never got that payoff. I never got to like where I was like, and I'm settled. I'm financially set and I can do this. Like I always had to keep proving myself. And I think that was like eating at me because it was just, I didn't feel the support. I just felt like I had to keep proving myself. And then it was killing me. It was killing me in my mental health. My anxiety was terrible. And so I'm starting to get better with that now, but.
And Amy always had morning show jobs. Like the job to have in radio is the morning show job. And she still couldn't breathe every day. She literally was anxiety ridden.
Well, I had a boss also being like, I didn't hire you. You're not the team that I would have put together. Oh, and just like all the pinning down. And then you kind of just feel worthless. So starting to feel a little more like bubbly me, which is nice, but it's like, okay, well, what's next?
This podcast.
I'm sorry you went through that. And I say that I came to Nova Scotia not knowing a single soul, but at least I came with my husband and my children. And so we had our little, team. And I've always been amazed by what you did. I remember when you up and moved from Ottawa, sincerely not knowing a single soul and not even having a team. You literally drove to Nova Scotia by yourself. And you started it on your own. And I've always thought that was amazing about you.
Oh, thank you so much. I always thought you were amazing too. I always loved their little chats in the room and everything. And, I think we worked with some incredible women in that building, and some men that were there forever. And, just seeing the women get ahead, it was a lot harder, and, yeah.
We were legends.
We did work with legends.
Did you notice, Christina, the change or the difference in how men were treated versus the women?
Yeah, of course. And not only that, but there is a lot less opportunity for women. You and I know, right? Usually it's a token woman, or usually there's only certain slots that they feel like a woman might be good to, kind of gap between the two men. Right. And so there's a lot less opportunity for women, I find.
I do have to say the station in Vancouver that I left, has, I don't know now, but when I left, it was, I believe 2 women in the morning, then a female midday, then a female afternoon, which is weird, not weird, but different. It's usually a male in the dry, and then a male at nighttime. And then I was a female that was on the weekend. I think there was a couple of males on the weekend, but it was like, I don't know what now, this is 5 years ago, but it was very female.
You hardly ever see that.
Hardly ever. And I thought that was really good. Despite the terrible company I worked for, I thought it was a start.
Yep.
Now you're in politics. What's it like being a woman in politics?
Pretty much the same. No. We need more women in politics too. So there you go. Maybe you might want to consider that. I sit on a council. There's 10 of us. 2 of us are women. And I feel like women bring a perspective that is much needed in politics, whether it's the same sort of situations. When we talk about how our communities should prioritize things, if you have only seniors and pensioners that are your representation. Their ideas of how things should be run will be quite different as opposed to young families and moms that are struggling to pay the mortgage as opposed to having a reliable pension. So yeah, but the difficulty is that those are the very people that probably can't do municipal politics because they're too busy making those ends meet and taking care of families. And so no matter how much I want to say I'm a feminist, I'm very open with the fact that I'm very lucky that I have a husband that can accommodate my schedule, that I can drop my children off at the top of a dime and be able to run off and do a meeting or whatnot. And so it politics as well as any other industry needs to work harder to make it more conducive for the working mom.
What's like your campaign goal? Like when you become the mayor of Halifax, and I can be like, I knew her win.
I don't want to be the mayor of Halifax, but I will tell you that the next 3.5 years, and I've been very open with my own community here. I go to a lot of coffees, I go to a lot of meetings, and I am very transparent that my goal for the next 3.5 years is to try to recruit as many young voices and minority voices and women voices to try to run for municipal politics.
That's good goal to have.
I think so. Yeah.
Do you ever sit back and miss media, or are you happy with how everything played out, as crappy as it was? Are you like, this is where I was meant to be?
Just Friday, I was at a radio station, local radio station, Rewind 89.3. I stopped by for the morning show because they were doing Firefighter Fridays because of the wildfires going on. And so I went to personally thank our firefighters, and I was in the studio, and I gotta admit, oh man, I missed it. It felt really good. And I think I still got it. Like, you know how the radio voice just comes on whether you're thinking about it or not. Even my husband, when I read him something from the newspaper, he rolls his eyes because he says, I can't read the newspaper like a normal human being. I have to do it as if I'm going on the air. And I think I was doing that same thing at the radio studio. And when he was pushing all the buttons and making the music go, and I missed it. I did. But I'm very happy doing what I'm doing now.
It's just something that lives in us. It's weird. I wonder if, like, I don't know, if there's a doctor who stops doctoring and then he's just like, I miss my scalpel. Like, I often wonder if it is.
I don't think so. I don't think it's like that. I think there's something in us specifically. There's a creative side. I don't know what it is. We need this outlet of some sort. Would you ever want to do like a community radio show? Would you ever think about doing something like that to, I don't know, on the side?
Who knows? Who knows, right? I mean, I said to Darren and the morning show, I said, anytime. But it was almost like I was practically begging him. Anytime you need me to come in, if somebody calls in sick and you need a co-host, I'll come in and I'll be that second voice. Who knows? Anything could happen. I mean, my God, if you asked me years ago if I was going to be a politician, there's no way I would have thought that was going to happen. So who knows?
That's true.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, you have obviously a beautiful boy, but you have twin daughters.
Yes.
What do you hope for them in the future as women?
I really want them to believe that they can do anything they want to be and do. I got to tell you, there was a long time that I was worried because, like I said, when I was laid off, I was kind of a full-time mom for them. And I did have the voiceover studio in the basement. And then during the pandemic, we were in a little bubble for a long time too. And so I am excited to have them see me out working again and out in the community. And the whole reason why I decided to do what I was doing was because I wanted to continue doing all that volunteer work and being engaged with the community. And so they see me doing that. And I hope that they too, when they grow up, whatever they want to be, that they'll do it with the same passion that I'm doing it, and they'll enjoy it as much too.
Or if they're like, Mom, we want to go into radio.
Don't do it. There's no money or stability. Don't do it. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. I mean, who knows by that time what radio stations will be like at all.
Who knows? It's ever changing, right? I mean, yeah. It's funny. Okay, so when I was doing market research to start my business, I was able to get a grant to start my business because I was laid off. That's another thing. When you get laid off and you go to the unemployment office, there are some grants to help you with finding different opportunities, whether it's to go to school or whether it's to start your own business. If you were able to prove that your industry is getting to be somewhat obsolete. And if you could imagine, I was laid off in 2011, 2012. Even then, they were saying, okay, we agree, because there's so many people getting laid off in that industry that you would probably need to go back to school or get a grant to start your own, business. And so that's what I did. And I forget what the question was now.
So do I. Yeah. I'm like writing all of this down. I was go to BI, get grants.
So I got the grant to start my own business. Oh, I remember. And one of the requirements to start the business was to do the market research before you start the business to make sure that your business was going to be able to get off the ground. So I actually called different professors of broadcasting schools to ask what they thought of the radio industry. I don't remember who I called, but there was an instructor that I called and I asked him about it. And he said, and I quote, because I won't forget this. I said, do you feel like there is a lot of opportunity for graduates of radio broadcasting school, because you keep whipping them out, but I'm seeing all the layoffs in the companies. And he said, they're always hiring in Fort McMurray. I kid you not. That was his response.
Sweet.
Always hiring in Fort McMurray. You guys, that's true.
A radio announcer's dream. Yep.
If you go to Milkman Unlimited, they're always hiring in Fort McMurray.
It's true.
That's very true.
And I think it's so funny because when you're younger, I think that was one of the first things my professor said. He was like, he's like, if you're here for the money, you might as well leave because you're not going to make any and you're going to have to move. And he was like, to like Wawa. And I was like, oh, that's cute. He's making up places. But, I did. I ended up, like you said, I moved. But then, once you hit a certain age, I'm like, I'm not chasing dreams across the country now. Like, a 20-year-old at Fort Mac, have at her. But you get at a certain age and you're just like, I'm too old for this shit,
Honestly, I don't think a lot of people who are coming into college sort of age are like, ooh, radio. I think they're like, let me start my own podcast. Wait a second, I started it 3 years ago and I already made $1 million. Like, it's just not that way anymore. I think it's much better how it is because people have so much more freedom. And I don't think they're going to have to deal with the shit that we have all dealt with. And I think that is a beautiful thing.
But on the same token, my son is about to start high school next year, if you can believe it. That little boy that we're talking about has a mustache going on and he's taller than me. Anyway,
Oh my God.
he's about to start high school, and him and all his buddies, do you know what they want to grow up and be? They want to be YouTube stars.
Yes.
So I feel like it's probably the same thing too. I think a lot of people want it to be radio DJs, and then you're saturated with people that want to be radio DJs. I think right now my son and all his peers want to be YouTube stars. And so what I did over the summer was I signed him up for trades camp, where every single day he learned a different trade at the NSCC. Plumbing, electrical work, auto mechanics, and he had the time of his life. But I want him to know that there are so many different opportunities. And frankly, a plumber is making more money than a doctor right now.
He can make a YouTube series about his plumbing.
Exactly.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Instead of the same 10 songs playing over and over again. And doing all the grunt work.
Yeah.
That's another thing too. I find like the younger generation, we were talking about this, how they don't do a lot for free, but we had an intern and I was like going to remote after my morning show. And I was like, here's my car keys. Here's my debit card. Can you go to Tim Hortons for me and just pick something up, get yourself whatever? And he looked at me and goes, no, I will not be doing that for you. And I was like, no. And I was like, do you know what I did as a street teamer and the running around I did? And nobody was giving me their money. I spent my own money for that. And so I look at that and I was like, that little hustle is kind of gone, but they don't really need it.
Yeah, no, they don't.
Yeah, I don't know how they're getting away with it because when you and I were growing up, rent wasn't the way it is right now. So I don't know how they're getting away with it.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much for talking with us, Christina. We really appreciate it. And good luck with your new career.
Counselor to the District 8 of County of Kings.
Yes.
And that's where
I heard it.
I actually went to the NSCC in Kentville.
Okay. Yeah. That's where my son had trades camp. He loved it.
Yeah. That's where I did radio and television arts before it moved here to Dartmouth.
Amazing. You gals are going to do great things. And I'm lucky that I got to be on your show.